Welcome everybody to another edition of Wrestling Therapy. I am Osuji, and the chair has been filled with a new guest. The chair is ever growing. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Hey everybody, my name is Soul Rising, and you can find me on TikTok at the same username Soul Rising as well. I have been like a big wrestling fan since I was a little kid, since I was like 6. My older sibling got was into wrestling when I was a little kid, and so like obviously when like the little sibling, they always want to copy like the older sibling and what they're doing, what they're into, so like I remember that. Watch it with my pops at the same time too. So yeah, I love wrestling. It's one of my biggest passions that I have.
So, when you started watching wrestling, was this after the Monday Night Wars with WCW, or was this?
Yes, yes, it was after the Monday Night Wars, and so
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Those
I
are good
was I
times.
was born '99, so I was literally I remember my pops was telling me all the stories about like the Monday Night Wars. Like he remembers like vividly of flipping the channels between WCW and WWE about like what was going on, WWF at the time. Um, so like my pops is like telling me the different stories of like what he enjoyed. He enjoyed WCW a little bit more than WWF back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, WCW, they had the ratings for the longest time, and it was some very interesting times in wrestling back then. Who were some of your favorites growing up?
Um, some of my favorites growing up, and I also wanted to touch on something else after this. With what you just said about like WCW and WWF, it was important to have like competition, especially now when it comes to wrestling, because like for a long time, like you had like a lot of like stagnant stuff. There wasn't that much like exciting stuff going on, you know. And so like when AEW came into play, it forced WWE to kind of step up their game, put a little bit more emphasis into long-term storytelling, put a little bit more emphasis into like in-ring wrestling of like what was going on, a little bit more creativity. So I do wanted to highlight that and how like important it is to have like different wrestling companies, especially independent wrestling companies, because we obviously all want to have really great wrestling to watch, and how you get really great wrestling is to have like different companies to forcing each other to get better. Um, but some of my favorites growing up was like Shawn Michaels. DX was my favorite with Triple H. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see all of WWE. Um, I didn't get to see 90s DX or anything like that, just because like of course I'm a young gun. I was born '99, of course, so um I also remember John Cena. John Cena was one of my biggest things. I remember having like the Doctor Thugonomics and all that. I literally remember my pops giving me like a chain with the, like the locket and everything too, and all that kind of stuff. Doing that the same bullshit that he did back in the day. It was awesome,
Worldwide.
man. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Like I'm telling you, what could have been way better with with the heel turn is if they went back with that music. 1000%.
I would have to agree. I would have to agree. What are your thoughts on the
Yeah, man.
overall Cena return?
The whole, Cena return, you said?
Hmm.
Okay. So like Cena's one of my favorites, but obviously I posted a video on my YouTube and like my TikTok saying like, I really wasn't a big fan of like his return now, because like at first it was great because like of course it's like John Cena. We it's like nostalgia. We love our boy. We love John Cena. We want to see him like succeed and everything. Have like one great run. But like I think what really happens with like his heel turn, what really messed it up is like The Rock and Travis Scott just kind of like disappeared. you know? And so like they just kind of left Cena high and dry, and they just kind of had to like force a babyface turn at that time, and unfortunately with the circumstances it was rushed and it didn't really make that much sense, you know? Because he's a really bad guy for like 4 months, and then like all of a sudden the last month he goes, actually, psych, I was wrong, and then turns babyface again, you know? Like, I don't know. It's like if the circumstances were different and if he was full time, they definitely could have cooked a little bit more, but you know.
You only had limited amount of dates, so that does kind of
Yep.
handcuff things, so to speak. You mentioned
Yeah,
previously you
man.
wanted to talk
Yeah,
about
man.
the competition. Did you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so like, and I guess this is like a comment of like there's all like these like super weird people that are like chronically online that are saying like this brand is better, or like this is better, or like WWE is better, AEW better, but like who cares at the end of the day, like what we should care about is like there's these people, these wrestlers that are putting their bodies on the line that are like entertaining us, like with WWE twice a week. We saw Sami Zayn wrestle 4 times in the past 2 weeks on Raw and SmackDown just because of like Montreal and Quebec and all that, just showing him some love and everything too, he and all these people are like hating on him for like whatever reason. That's a whole different conversation.
We
But
can have that
at the end
conversation.
of the day, with all these different yes, we can have that conversation too, because Sami Zayn's one of my favorites. I will always, I will ride or die for my boy Sami Zayn. He's my boy, and I will not tolerate any Sami Zayn slander. Point blank. Period. He's my
Oh
boy. I
boy.
will defend him. Yes. Oh no! Shit! Oh my boy. Okay, my boy. Okay, okay. I see where this is gonna go. Okay. Um. But
This is why we're here.
you know, yes sir, yes sir. And this is not called wrestling therapy right now. It's definitely not called that. Maybe with us getting our emotions out, I guess. But
That's that's the
um,
plan.
yeah, man. So like I feel like what we need to like really focus on is like there's these people that are, you know, entertaining us, and if they leave one certain company, or if you're saying that one certain company is better, like we should celebrate that we have all these different companies. Like we have TNA, we have AEW, we have WWE, we have ROH, we have a crap ton of like independent wrestling scenes. We have like this farming system that NXT is doing with like collegiate athletes. Like this is like the healthiest like wrestling has been for a long time. Since like the whole territory era and all that kind of stuff, back in like the 60s and 50s and all that stuff, all that stuff. So, I feel like what we're really losing is like the love of the game and like loving the wrestlers for the entertainment value that they do for us. Like who cares if they go to different companies? These different companies are going to create all these other companies to be better, to generate better storylines, to put a little bit more effort into what the fans want, and all that such as well. So like I don't like it when people just kind of like to say one company should go extinct or should close up shop just because like they just hate that company. It's like we need them, you know.
Yeah, that's it goes back to what we just spoke about earlier about the Monday Night Wars. That's what helped WWF step their game up because it was like, man, look, we got WCW breathing down our necks. Like we gotta
Mm-hmm.
do something. And killing off another company doesn't help that growth.
Yeah, man.
But that's just mine.
Um, it's it's interesting because like I am one of those believers that if like since Cody left WWE as for his release, back in the day, it was like the big domino effect of like, okay, so he went on like this big independent tour, indie tour, He was like he was dripped in gold. He went to like every single different independent scene, and won all the titles there. Built a name for himself. A great heel name, I will say. Cody Rhodes to turn heel at some point, in my opinion. But it's like my boy, he's kind of boring. Cody Rhodes to turn heel, but again, at the end of the day, turning heel is not the end all be all of how to not be boring. You can also be a boring heel. At the same time. So I digress.
Speaking of boring, I'm so glad you
no way.
So glad you said that. Speaking of boring, I am going to tell you my issue with Sami Zayn, and then you can rebut. My
Okay.
issue with Sami Zayn is it's not his ability in the ring.
Okay.
It's a great wrestler. Personally, I feel like his character has not shifted or changed at all, and he's gotten no results. He wants to be this good guy to walk the line perfectly and not make any mistakes, but he won't take a shortcut to get to his goal, even though everybody else around him is achieving their goals, the same goals he has. He goes into every feud as the underdog, and then he overcomes, and it's rinse and repeat. His promos are rinse and repeat, the same cadence, rinse and repeat. It's a lot of rinse and repeat for Sam. There's no evolution. When he was doing the whole conspiracy thing, like I think that was around the COVID time, that was good. He was entertaining. And then he went back to being a babyface, and it was cool for a little while, but it's boring. But your response.
Okay. So I guess, and and wrestlers can be subjective, and I understand like Sami Zayn can be his baby face and his like underdog type of person, his underdog type of character is not resonating with a lot of people. And I also heard the argument that like the underdog, character is not resonating with people just because like he's up there with like CM Punk and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins with like the amount of times that he wins and loses. Out of all of them, he probably loses out of all of them the most. But he's still seen as a top guy. He's still seen as like one of those people that doesn't lose all the time. And so like I can agree with that. I can agree with that standpoint of him not really being seen as like a true underdog because like he's overpowered, he's like fucking Super Saiyan going crazy times a million, whenever he needs to. You saw that shit with Gunther back at WrestleMania 40.
Exactly.
But I guess what I really wanted to reiterate is like at the same time, I guess his in-ring ability and his in-ring psychology and his in-ring storytelling of like his inner struggle and his inner turmoil of him pretty much like essentially getting his ass beat, at that same match at WrestleMania 40 with Gunther for a long time, for a long stint. My boy was getting his ass beat. He was getting chops. I think he got hit with like 3 or 4 power bombs by Gunther at WrestleMania 40. And at that one time, even previously at WrestleMania 40, they really told a really great story of him pretty much losing every single match. I don't know who he was wrestling at that time prior to WrestleMania 40, but the story that he was telling was he's losing and he can't get a win out, and he has this important match at WrestleMania 40 with Gunther, and obviously he searches out Chad Gable so he can pull a fast one on Gunther and ultimately win. That was when Sami was at his best, I will say. And as a Sami Zayn fan, as a Sami Zayn stan, as time went on, he definitely kind of like lost a little bit of steam. He's still my favorite. His stuff with Solo was going to be interesting to see with like the United States Championship, but like I digress with that whole thing. If they show that man losing for like 2, 3, 4 months straight, and like showing his struggle, that's when Sammy's at his best, you know. And of course, there's gonna be those people that like, I'm Sammy. Sammy needs more love. Sammy needs to leave this company. Blah 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 blah. But it's like when Sammy loses for 3 months straight, and he ultimately gets and pulls a fast one on like the big bad guy heel, like I said at WrestleMania 40 with Gunther. That's when Sammy's at his best. Um, I don't really remember his promos back in the day. I remember his promos and his like his little cutscenes that he had with Chad Gable at this gym. When Chad Gable was trying to train him to to beat him. But I will say I can agree as time goes on. Currently, Sammy's character has gotten a little bit stale, but if they return back to WrestleMania 40 Sammy, I think that would be better.
You know what would be fresh? What they could do for Sami? El Generico. El Generico.
Oh!
Bring back El Generico.
Okay.
Sammy's fucking interesting.
Okay.
Sammy's 100% more interesting.
Do you see El Generico having a feud with El Grande Americano? If that does come back.
Yeah, that would be dope.
I think that okay. No, you're kind of cooking with that. That would be cool. That would be really cool.
That'll make Sammy 100% more interesting because it's something new and we haven't seen it in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with Sami Zayn, but his character is like I need a break from it. It's kind of like I mentioned earlier. It's just a repeat. El Generico, yeah, because now it's like it's a new character. It's a brand new character, clean slate.
Yeah.
El Generico could win the world title. Nobody.
Let me ask you this.
Oh.
Okay. El Generico with the world title. Okay, would you see him win the WWE title or the World Heavyweight title? What would you rather see him win? If that does happen.
The World Heavyweight. Because I feel like he could have really good matches with guys like Seth, Breaker, even Bronson Reed, Jey Uso if he wanted to, stuff like that.
So, and this is kind of like spitballing. So now, like, Sammy's on SmackDown. I don't know if they're doing a draft this year, like with this whole thing that's going on. But like now we just have LA Knight to say like I'm on Raw now, and then we have Sami Zayn I'm on SmackDown now. Like okay, like cool. What are with the brands? Just don't do the brand split. Just kind of have them do whatever they want. Free for all.
Yeah.
Anyways, going to now that Sammy's on SmackDown with Solo and MFTs and all that. MFTs are they're not doing it for me. They just kind of look like MFs in the background T-posing. They just kind of look like props. They're not really doing too much. Solo's funny though. Solo's great. But like Jeff Cobb, Talatanga and all them, they're not really doing too much. They're just kind of NPCs, like waiting for you to interact with them. So a good way to make them interesting is obviously they want to be like a dominant heel and run Friday Night SmackDown. Would you have them beat the fuck out of Sami to the point where they are seen now as like this brutal group? Now they contend for like again for going against Cody for the WWE title, the WWE Championship again, and have like maybe even a War Game segment. Would you book that necessarily, or do you think that would stink up SmackDown a little bit?
If it bring back El Generico, then yes. If it's just Sami Zayn coming back with big ribs and winning a match that he probably should not have won, then no, I'm good.
Wow. Okay, so you're just like Sami, just no, like put on a mask, put the fries in the bag.
Everybody loves El Generico. You can't tell me if El Generico came out, that crowd would not pop big as shit for El Generico.
Okay, no, that's true. That's true. And it could kind of build up to Kevin Owens' return though at the same time because like if I remember correctly, El Generico and Kevin Owens had like a little bit of a feud back in the day in Ring of Honor, correct?
Yeah. Well, my only thing is I wouldn't
Yeah.
book around Kevin Owens right now until you know if he's going to come back.
Okay. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
But okay,
Oh, dude.
let's
Oh my God, dude. The Kevin Owens. That's another story, dude. That's another thing. Go ahead. I want to talk about what you talk about. You're cooking.
let's move on from Sami Zayn. So
Yep.
WWE has done, and the ESPN are they have their partnership going on now. Pay-per-views are going to be $30 unless you have certain streaming services. I want to hear your thoughts, but I'll give you mine real quick first. Um, if you're gonna have people pay an extra $20, $15, whatever it is a month for pay-per-views, okay, but you need to have more than 5 matches. You need to have at least six or
One thousand
seven,
percent.
at least 7 matches, because at that point you're just robbing the people. Like, okay, hey, you pay $30 for the same 5 matches. No, give me 7 matches, six at the least. But what do you think?
Mm. Okay, and I'm gonna try to, because I can really, talk about like many different factors on this. I'm gonna keep politics out of this because politics and wrestling shouldn't coexist. But it really shows capitalistic greed. You know, obviously TKO is a publicly traded company now, so like they have to look for the assets of the shareholders. They have to look for the assets, and they have to look for the people that invested money into the company. AKA The Rock. Probably Vince McMahon probably has a little bit of share in TKO too. Like that's probably what's gonna happen. But what they need to do is, and I agree with you. I agree with you. If you're gonna have if you're gonna charge $30 a month for pay-per-views, you better give me a 7 match card. But then also on some of your big pay-per-views, like you better like instead of like the Royal Rumble having two Royal Rumble matches and then two regular matches, please give me like two Royal Rumble matches and four regular matches, and please like highlight the women just a little bit more too. Now you have an excuse, and now that you're wanting to go back and go down to 2 nights, 2 night Royal Rumbles, 2 night Survivor Series, 2 night SummerSlams, whatever it is. Now's the time to highlight the women because now the women have a little bit more of like a deeper roster, a little bit more of a stacked roster than the men, in my opinion. If they put a little bit more emphasis on the women, could skyrocket anything. I digress though. Going into the whole ESPN thing, they at the end of the day, I think people will follow, but I think people will not hesitate to drop the subscription service because like I think it's like $60 to $120 for you to be a wrestling fan monthly, because if you want to stay up to date with everything. With NXT, you have to get your local CW network, which is on cable TV. You also have to get or YouTube TV. You also have to get, cable for Friday Night SmackDown, or you can get a VPN for Netflix, but you also have to pay for Netflix at the same time. Then you have to pay for Peacock. There's like so much things that you have to buy, and I don't think that people will not hesitate to drop something if the product is complete garbage. So if NXT's garbage, they won't hesitate to drop YouTube TV or cable. If Raw is garbage, if they're like in the US, they probably won't hesitate to drop Netflix if Raw is garbage. I don't know. It's a risky thing to really get into because not every American has like an extra $20 to like spend a month to justify like a 5 match card, as you said.
Absolutely. Um. Okay. Next thing we could talk about, we got Clash of the Castle, Clash of Paris coming up. So far I think we have confirmed Seth Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against LA Knight, Jey Uso, CM. I believe also confirmed. I guess Stephanie will have a match for for the title against somebody, probably. Logan Paul
Yeah,
versus John Cena.
hopefully.
Yeah. Um, if you could predict three more matches for this card, you got the book and pad and paper.
Oh,
You could book three more matches.
okay. If I can book three more matches for this card, I would want. Okay. Okay, never mind. I can't. You can't do the women's U.S. title. You can't do that. You can't book an interesting story in like a week and a half. Um. So I think the best thing to do, obviously, is to book an interesting story with the SmackDown Tag Team division. Obviously because like that whole division is cooking, and I feel like that whole division is like carrying SmackDown. And so I would do the Wyatt Six versus if they do like a number one contending match, I would do the Wyatt Six versus Street Profits to have them do like a rematch again to do like a definitive end to that feud. Um, I would have the Wyatt Six win that though, and have them still be like the dominant because I like what they're doing with like them peeking around everyone, the tag team division, being like the spooky heels. I think that's really entertaining. They can do something really great and really fascinating with that, especially with the tag team division. So I would put the definitive ends to that tag team story, and have the Wyatt Six win. Um, I would do if I had to pick an opponent for Stephanie to have instead of Naomi because of Naomi's not going to be there. I would pick Stephanie versus like just like a one off again. Stephanie versus Julia as just like a one off, super hype, super pop, super popular match that everyone will get behind as well because everyone loves Julia, everyone loves Stephanie, and I feel like it would be a really great way to showcase Julia's brutality as a heel going into SmackDown as well. But also it would showcase the love for Stephanie that everyone have. It's a really great cheap pop to have too. Um, and again, Clash in Paris. If I'm building up to have Brock Lesnar to face John Cena at some point, like they're trying to have. I would book a very dominant match for Brock Lesnar to have everyone, like be reminded that how brutal Brock Lesnar can be, and how much of like a brutal beating John Cena can be for down the later down the year. If I'm being mean, I would do Akira Tozawa. If I'm being completely mean, but that would be like a really awful beating. But I would also showcase maybe Carmelo Hayes, but have Carmelo Hayes have a little bit of show that he can kind of keep up with the Brock Lesnar, have like an interesting, entertaining match of like a 10-15 minute match with the Brock Lesnar. Have Brock Lesnar, beat Carmelo Hayes for like 10 minutes. Have Carmelo Hayes at the end of the match, do like some crazy comeback story type of thing, but ultimately have Brock Lesnar do like 5 back suplexes and just murder him live on Clash in Paris. I think that's the best thing to do if you're wanting to book Brock Lesnar to wrestle John Cena.
Okay. One more.
One more. Ooh. I would do the Bronson Reed, and Ron Breaker versus Judgment Day to get the titles off of Judgment Day. Because obviously the Judgment Days they're just kind of holding the titles. They're not doing too much. And if they really want to build the Vision Seth Rollins faction to be dominant, they obviously need to have everyone in the group to be dripped down in gold. So like I think that the Bronze should have a tag team match at Clash in Paris 2 and have them dethrone Judgment Day. Even if it's like a heel versus heel, type of thing. I don't care. Judgment Day should not have been awarded those tag team belts. I don't know why they did. I don't know why they have. We saw them previously. They held it for 200 days and they did not have a single match defending them. So.
Okay. If I could add 3, I would do 1 would be AJ versus Dom rematch for the title. And have AJ go over.
Okay.
2, let's just get Becky and Nikki Bella out the way. Have Becky defend her title against Nikki Bella. And 3, well, Stephanie versus Roxanne versus Io. Triple threat match for the if Naomi's not going to be there for the title. Triple threat match for the title. Since the story would make sense if you build it right between now and then.
That would cook.
If you must do what it looks like they want to do, you could do Tiffany versus Jade versus Nia for the women's championship. It feels like that's probably where they want to go at some point. Maybe make it elimination to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So I am not a big fan of Tiffany Stratton as the champion.
Me neither.
I don't know why they're doing a babyface run for Tiffany Stratton. That doesn't make sense to me. Do you find what Tiffany Stratton is doing as champion boring? And if you find it boring, what would you do to fix it?
Okay, that's a good question. If she had the new challengers, which I think it would make things easier. But it's like you look at her run. She faced Charlotte, she faced Jade, she faced Trish, Nia like 3 or 4 times already. Jade, who else did she wrestle? That's it, right? Yeah, that's about it. Like, the only other person for her to face is Bianca. If you bring back Bianca, maybe have Bianca take the title off of Tiffany, and now you have 5 or 6 new feuds you could run until WrestleMania. What do you think?
Okay. That I didn't think about Tiffany, Tiffany and Bianca. I didn't think about that because I'm like so hard stuck on Tiffany turning back to heel because like her stunt in NXT as a heel that she had Becky was fire. Like Tiffany is at her best as heel. I'm better than you, Barbie. My daddy's rich type of heel. That's what she's really good at playing. Like a Blake Monroe type of character, a Mariah May type of character. I don't know why they shied away from that. And so like Bianca and Tiffany would cook. But what I would do is like obviously I would have Nia switch brands again because like I don't want Nia and Tiffany to have another match because like as you said, this is like the 3rd or 4th time that we've seen this. Like I don't want to see it again. Normally matches are ended in trilogies, right? They ended in trilogies. The last match that Tiffany and Nia Jax had, I believe, was like a last woman standing or something like that. And Tiffany went over and Tiffany won. Nia went down and had like a little stint with Last Legend bound in NXT, and now she's back up with Tiffany again. Like, come on, like. I think it's kind of lazy storytelling on my end, in my opinion, on their end with what they're doing with Tiffany and Nia Jax. But Nia, go back to different brands. have Tiffany turned heel, and that will open up so many factors to have they can do another rematch with Tiffany and Jade, because like, and they can somehow retell that story of how Tiffany is like this brutal heel again, and have Jade, ultimately, like, Tiffany can say, no, you don't deserve a title match or rematch or whatever. Jade can say, blah blah blah, yes I do, blah 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 blah. Tiffany like beats the fuck out of Jade, beats it to a bloody pulp or something like that, knocks her out for 2 months. Jade comes back. Jade takes the title off of Tiffany for a little bit, builds up a fantastic, really great babyface Jade that the people can connect with, and how you do that is to have a heel Tiffany Stratton, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with Tiffany Stratton. I loved her in NXT. She's a great talent, but I just felt like, what was the point of Jade winning Queen of the Ring to lose clean to Tiffany? Like, it's one thing if they would have done a situation where Tiffany, let's say Tiffany hits the moonsault and she covers Jade, but Jade's foot's hanging like underneath the bottom rope, and the ref doesn't see it. Okay, boom. Tiffany won clean, but Jade has a reason for a rematch because the referee missed her foot being underneath the rope. That way, okay, you can at least continue that. For me, I just don't need to see Jade and Tiffany again. Like, you lost. Clean, fair and square. Like, that's...
Yep.
There was no shenanigans. Like, nobody came out and screwed you. Like, I feel like... I don't know. I'm a little over Tiffany as champion.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too, dog. Me too. Like, I watch it with my pops all the time, and my pops is like, yeah, no, like, he's been over. He's been over Tiffany as champion the moment she won that shit. My pops is like, oh, brother, this shit about to stink on SmackDown. Like, my pops is not a fan of Tiffany Stratton at all.
I get that. What else is on your mind that you would like to talk about as we near the end here? What is on your
mind? Triple Mania was fire last night. I know you were watching it last night because I know we were trying to like set this up, set this up a little bit later. But Triple Mania was fire last night. I didn't expect that good of a card and that entertaining of a night, but that shit was fire.
I want to address the absolute travesty that happened at Triple Mania, the highway robbery. Okay, I want to discuss that the greatest Intercontinental Champion and the greatest Mysterio ever was screwed by AJ Styles. I am upset. I am outraged. The Dominic fan club is not happy about this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
We're pissed, man. We're pissed, dude. I'm pissed, dog. I'm pissed. You know, like, my boy, like, he my boy had it. Dominic had it. He was right there. We could have seen 2-belt Dom. We could have seen that boy. We could have seen 2-belt Dom, but old head, unk ass AJ, can't take it that a young gun, is getting the limelight. He can't take it.
He can't take it.
My boy AJ's going out the window. He can't take it, man. So it's like he's jealous. I'm upset, man.
Yes.
We for real, we could have seen like an insane pop with Dominic winning though. We couldn't have seen an insane pop with Dominic winning.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Omos and Otis are back.
Yeah, so you can kind of tell where they are at, like, in the totem pole. With them being reintroduced at a AAA event instead of like their own company they just got signed to. Like, they got reintroduced to WWE at AAA, and it's like, we both know that Omos is not going to be there anymore. We both know that. Like, Otis might come back, but he's going to get his ass squashed again.
Now, I from a booking standpoint, it sort of makes sense because it gives you that anything can happen. Anybody could show up at these shows. So it kind of gives you like, oh shit, well, yeah, it's Omis and Omis, wow. Omos and Otis. Put their names together. But
Otis.
but it's like, well, hell, who knows who could show up at these events? I enjoyed it. I
It was
enjoyed
great. Omos and Microman was great. Microman was a great part of the Royal, like of the AAA Royal Rumble. That was fire. Um, Microman was great. I think the best part of the match, though, the best part of the night, though, easily is Demonito versus La Yesca.
Now
That right there was the best.
we need Mr. Sacco and the Cobra and a fatal four-way match. Let's go.
Dude,
Bloodline rules.
let's go, man.
Let's go.
Bloodline rules.
Bloodline rules. Let's go.
And the new Bloodline rules. We see Alexa Bliss's puppet, Charlotte's puppet, come out the way. Come out and help him out.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. Bring back Shark Boy with his. Let's go.
Book it, please. Go. Dude, oh my god. Bring it back, WWE. We cooking stuff for you right now, but you just got to give us a little bit of money right now, man. Compensate if you're gonna take our idea.
Or a lot of it, they got it. I don't want to hear like they're strapped to cash.
Yes, indeed, they got it. They got billions.
Speaking of that, as we close, your thoughts on the Karrion Kross situation?
Oh, so I understand that, like, and I was thinking that it was a work. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was a work, but I heard the conversation, and I feel like it's important to have that. And it's and I understand how people thought it was a work because, like, we saw Seth Rollins' injury. He was injured, but then he came back to win the title, and now everyone thought that Karrion Kross, that whole thing was a work and was the thing too. But when someone like legit gets released and you just say like, hey man, no, you're lying to us, you're working to us, it's like, I think we should like treat that as delicate as possible because, like, so this man just lost his job, like he lost a way for him, to feed himself and to feed his wife, Granted, he just had his book, #1 bestseller on sports books, that boy is not strapped for cash. I'm not saying that either, like I don't feel bad for him for not, not having money because he probably does. But my boy, like, he loved WWE and he wants to be with WWE. He had an interview with Ariel Helwani and he said that he still wants to be with WWE even though, like, he has everything and every right to just pretty much to give WWE the middle finger with how disrespectful they were towards him on when renegotiating his contract. I'm sad to see him go. Because, like, I feel like they were just now developing an interesting character with him. But, like, again, my boy was, like, in WWE for, like, 5 years, and he, like, barely did anything interesting. It was a very start-stop booking with him, but, hindsight's 2020. You can easily say what I just said, but, I'm always about giving someone a second chance, and a third chance and a fourth chance if they're hungry enough to try.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, I think Raw will be tomorrow, whenever this is released, tomorrow or Monday, whatever. I think we got Penta versus Xavier Woods, which should be entertaining, as Woods tries to counter the Mexican Destroyer somehow. What else is happening? Naomi is supposed to appear, so we'll see what that situation
she's about to
is.
announce that she's pregnant.
I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate on somebody's health or anything like that personally. I
We
mean,
ain't
if she
speculating on
says
that.
she's pregnant, we'll go with it. But for now, for me, she might be okay, and it was just something they were being precautious about. And yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's all I saw for Raw. But is there anything else you want to say or plug as we close? I also want to say thank you for joining and filling the chair. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Anything else you would like to say?
Thank you, man. I just wanted to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to share some share some of my love for Sami Zayn, but also at the same time, like I don't have too many people besides my pops that I can really converse about wrestling to, So like, it was great to just chop it up with you about like wrestling and to see where your mindset is at, where you're at when it comes to wrestling and everything too. So if you have any more spots, like let me know. I'm always down to hop on.
Yeah,
I'm always down.
look, I always have I've been having people who've enjoyed it and come back. I am more than happy to have people back. Um, maybe I also as well as it gets closer to the pay-per-view, I usually like to do everybody give their predictions on what they think is going to happen. So if you want to do that show as well, love to have you on for that. But yes, that
Yes, sir.
that is all for wrestling therapy today. And once again, I am Wasuji. I thank you. Also follow at Wrestling Therapy, subscribe. And if you want to be a guest, just send me a message on TikTok, the book face, the tube of you, whatever the stuff it is. Stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you on the next episode.